Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist virtual Sunday service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whenever and wherever you are viewing this service, know you are welcome here. Our minister is Reverend Thom Belote. Today we will have one of our members, Bannan, bringing the message.
Sing to the power of the faith, sing. Now let us sing to the power of the faith, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Words for Chalice lighting. The chalice is the container, the space where the musicians and the listeners gather. The oil is the fuel, the hours of practice and the life experiences of everyone in the room. The wick is the instruments and vocal cords through which the music will flow. And the flame is the music which is created as if by magic when the instruments are lifted and the breath is inhaled on the downbeat. May this flame ignite the music in all of us. As I said, our speaker this morning is Bannan. Eric is a husband, father, songwriter, storyteller, U.S. Coast Guard Rescue Flight Crew veteran, backcountry adventure racer, and cancer survivor with a master's in computer science. He has been called to share his art to heal, bring joy, and build community. Eric is a member of our church and a 2016 graduate of Reverend Thom's preaching practicum. This will be his 5th annual Father's Day sermon. His sermon is on why do we sing? What is it about singing together that is so essential to our worship experience? We will explore these musical questions and more. Today's reading and call to worship is by Reverend Peter Reibel. We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shades of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. This is as it should be. Together we are more than any one person could be. Together we can build across the generations. Together we can renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together we can heed the call to a ministry of care and justice. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so. Come, let us worship together.
sacred spaces we are making when we gather and we sing round the campfire in a street choir. Join the circle, let it ring. Ain't that some amazing grace, the sanctuary we create? Bring your troubles, tell your story, pass that old guitar around. Raise your voices, make it joyous, listen for that holy sound. Ain't that some amazing grace, the sanctuary we create? Da-do-way-o, see you say, oh, da-do-way-o, say, say, say. Da-do-way-o, see you say, oh, da-do-way-o, say, say, say. Feel your heartbeat, there's a rhythm, there is music all around. Find another sister or brother, take a stand on holy ground. Ain't that some amazing grace, the sanctuary we create? Do-way-o, see you say, oh, da-do-way-o, say, say, say. Da-do-way-o, see you say, oh, da-do-way-o, say, say, say. Ain't that some amazing grace, the sanctuary we create? Ain't that some amazing grace, the sanctuary we create?
Each week, we hold a time in our worship service for the sharing of significant joys and sorrows. This week, I place a stone of joy for Nancy Mayer. Nancy writes, "My niece Patty, who lives in Brazil, had a baby on June 16th. Her name is Sol Reese Siegel. She's eventually going to have 3 citizenships: U.S., Brazilian, and Israeli." I place a stone of joy for Barbara Bibb. Barbara's nephew finished his program at the Allentown Police Academy. The academy held classes during the pandemic and graduated 18 men and women. Gregory is a former Marine, served in Afghanistan, and has found a career path. I place a belated stone of joy for Salem McNee, who became a great aunt on June 9th. Salem's niece had a lovely baby boy at UNC Hospitals. She says it's an incredibly vivid joy after months of discouraging news, like sun-gold treetops standing out against storm clouds. I place a stone of joy for our entire congregation for the joy of having Thom Belote as our minister. He ministers to us corporately and individually. He leads us spiritually, leads us into justice, and leads us to minister to one another. The last stone is for all those joys and sorrow this morning that were unspoken, but live in our hearts and are no less real. Let us take just a moment to hold these joys and sorrows in our hearts.
My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentations. I hear that sweet, though far off hymn, that hails a new creation. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble sick with fear and hear their death knells ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? In prison cells and dungeons vile, our thoughts to them are winging, when friends by shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing? My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentations. I hear the sweet, though distant hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, those freedom bells come ringing, since love is Lord of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentations. I hear the sweet, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Why do we sing? And what is it about singing together that is so essential to our worship experience? Now, these are big questions. These are fundamental questions, even existential in nature to some of us. They are bigger than my own personal experience can really address. So early in my research for this sermon, I decided to reach out and put those musical questions to a number of worship leaders, music directors, and professional artists across many faiths and denominations. So let's take a look at that first question. Why do we sing? Chris Whitenack, the music director for the Unity Center of Peace in Chapel Hill, replied, "We sing because we can. It is a very natural thing to do, and nearly any being with vocal folds and a resonating cavity can emanate a sound that can be melodic with rhythm. Sound is such a valuable and effective means of communication, of communicating a feel or a state of being, a growl from a lion, or a roar from a lion, or a growl from a dog. Certainly conveys a feeling. Singing allows us to take a set of words or notes and express them uniquely. Singing also allows us to experience a primitive sensation that is pleasing and rewarding. A primitive sensation that is pleasing and rewarding. An interesting contrast, Lynn Kuntz, the music director from the Hinshaw United Methodist Church in Greensboro, replied, "We sing to worship God in a creative way, and because we love to make music. Singing is therapeutic and feels good." Singing together speaks to the corporate singing together speaks to the power of corporate worship and helps lift our spirits musically. Now, Glenn Meerbach, our beloved music director here at the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian Universalist, shared some of his wisdom and a possible origin story that I find intriguing. Glenn says, in musical theater, they always say that the reason that we sing is because the emotion is too great to be merely spoken. And I think this applies to singing in general. The best singing happens when you sing from a place of deep feeling, whether that be happiness or sadness. He goes on to say that I can imagine the first singing done in celebration, when extended shouts of joy transformed into held-out musical pitches, or notes, or in grief, when the moans and wailing of loss turned into sustained pitches. Whoever did this must have noticed that it felt good, that it felt right, and that it allowed a release of emotion that no other form of expression could replicate. Glenn also adds, then they probably told their fellow villagers and formed a chorus. I suppose this is the possible origin of choral singing. My dear friend, David Lamont, is a worship leader, author, singer, songwriter, peace activist. He was on the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, and he's from a long line of Presbyterian ministers and a practicing Quaker. David is also very adept at social media, and he posted the Why Do We Sing questions to his legion of Facebook friends. Now, one of my favorite responses from his post was this bullet point list. Three points. Number one, because it's in the bulletin or the order of service. Number two, because it gets a great eye roll from my daughter when I sing in public. And number three, because I'm human, and it's what we do. Another gem from that social media thread was from Ashley Jo Farmer, a touring professional vocalist who posted, I sing because I have to. It's a part of who I am. Without singing, I'm not me. So, we're starting to see some common threads here. We sing because we have to. We sing because it feels good. We sing because it's part of who we are. We sing because we can. How can we keep from singing? Now there's all sorts of cool stuff that's happening in our brains when we sing. Singing helps us to breathe more deeply. It releases oxytocin and endorphins, which are associated not only with feeling good, but with social bonding and empathy. Now, my friend David Lamont also shared a story with me about sitting with an Alzheimer's patient. He says, I have sat with an Alzheimer's patient whose illness had progressed to the point where he could no longer speak. But when I sang a folk song that his wife said that he had loved, he brightened up and he smiled and he sang along to every single word. Music was the one medium by which he could still be reached. He could still connect that way with the people who loved him. Now, in an informal conversation recently, I was asked why I sing, and I blurted out, because I can. Now, this is because I know what it's like to not be able to sing. To not be able to do that thing that brings me such joy and heals me. In July of 2018, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Between the cancer itself and the chemotherapy treatment, oh man, my body got beat up pretty bad. My singing voice was gone. I could barely talk. I was scared. because my voice is my livelihood. But this story has a happy ending, as you probably guessed. It took a lot of time, a lot of hard work on my part, and vocal therapy with the folks over at the Duke Voice Center. But I did get my voice back. See, now I can sing again, and I have been teaching vocal improvisation as a spiritual practice. Many of the folks who come to my workshop don't see themselves as singers. I'm always surprised at the number of people I meet that say, "Oh, I can't sing." And I'm saddened by this. I'm saddened when I talk to people, when I talk to someone who's been told you can't sing at some point in their life, and they've internalized this. This construct in our structure, where these people over here can sing, and these people over here can't. I'm not buying it. It's just wrong. I want to live in a world where everybody sings. And I tell people when I talk to them about this, I say in my world, everybody sings. So let's take a look at that second question. What is it about singing together that is essential to our worship experience? And I know I personally am missing this more than anything about worship. And I know there's a lot of you at home are missing this dearly. As my preaching mentor, Reverend Thom Belote, is fond of saying, when we worship, we shape our worth. We shape that which is of value to us. And there are so many ways to worship. For example, Jonathan Bird is an award-winning, international touring, performing songwriter, poet, philosopher, and professional photographer. Every Wednesday night from 7 to 10 p.m., even now, live streaming, he can be found leading his congregation at the Kraken in White Cross, out on Route 54 west of Chapel Hill. His residency is affectionately known by its regulars, of which I am one, as Church with Beer. Now, the Kraken is a dive bar, okay? Really. It's a double-wide trailer duct taped to a little wooden bar. And you know, the crowd can be a little rough, and there's nowhere to park. But somehow, Jonathan Berg has built a community across political and socio-economic lines that is an absolute wonder to behold. Even before the shutdown, every Wednesday night, the place was packed to the gills with people putting aside their differences and singing their hearts out to the songs he's written. I mean, and he's still going at it now by a live stream. Now, Jonathan's point of view on singing together and community is rather scientific. And he will often address the audience by asking, do you know vibration is everything? Every atom in your body, every particle of dust out there on the sidewalk, on a molecular level, it's all rotating, radiating, gyrating, and vibrating at certain frequencies. Vibration is so important to us. It's why we're here right now. We are here for a very small set of vibrations that we call sound. And another very small set of vibrations that we call light. All different speeds of the same thing. Like every string on my guitar is a different speed of the same thing. Like every band on the radio dial is a different speed of the same thing. Like all of our hearts beating together in this room and out there in this our internet community. All different speeds. same thing. One of the most powerful things you can do is sing. Maybe you go out to a bar, you sing along with a popular song with 25 or 50 of your friends. Maybe you go to church on Sunday and sing with a couple of hundred people. Maybe you go to some big music festival and you sing with thousands of people at the same time. However you do it, when you sing, you are harnessing the most fundamental force. The most fundamental force. Now, my takeaway from Jonathan's address there is when we sing together, we're all vibrating at a similar frequency. Now, Tim Smith, another great friend of mine, the music director at the Triangle Unity Church in Raleigh, reinforces this and takes it yet a step further by saying, literally, we are connected by singing. When we sing, we vibrate our bodies, and we use the vibration of our bodies in connection with our environment. Here, you can hear that sound echoing off the wall in here. Whenever two or more are gathered, each contributes to the environment and each are affected by it. Creating music together builds the foundation for a shared spiritual experience, a collective consciousness. Words spoken can be confusing, misunderstood, misinterpreted, disagreed with, etc., etc., etc. While music sung is felt in the body and transcends conscious knowledge and understanding, thus bringing us closer to the spiritual plane where we are all more connected than separate. Closer to the spiritual plane where we are all more connected than separate. Last summer, I had an absolutely transformative singing experience. I spent a week at the Omega Institute in upstate New York attending a week-long workshop with legendary singer Bobby McFerrin. It was called Circle Songs. Circle singing draws on traditions of chant, gospel, jazz, meditation, and mindfulness to create one-of-a-kind choral improvisation. Some of you have seen me do it here as part of a worship service. Some of you have come to my workshops. But at this, my first experience with circle singing at this workshop was twice a day, 150, 160 of us or so would gather in the main hall of the Omega Institute with these wonderful big hardwood floors where we could all hear each other. And Bobby, or one of his cadre of instructors, would spontaneously create a song in a number of parts that we would all sing together. Now, many of these songs that were created during circle singing didn't use words. They would start with an improvisation, something like do what de do what do what de do. You come up with something like that. That's called a motor, and they give it to a section of this huge circle of people, and they start singing it. And then they would harmonize it and build something in counterpoint, and then do something in contrast, and pretty soon you had 160 people doing this amazing thing. Now these riffs that these people were singing, they sounded language-like, but it was a language I didn't recognize. I was puzzled by this at first. And then somebody clued me in. They said, it's the language of music. Bobby McFerrin explains it like this. One of the reasons I enjoy singing songs without words is because it allows the individual here, that's you, that's me, that's us, to bring their own story to the sounds that I make. Now, I've had some very moving experiences singing, but working with Bobby and his teachers was a whole nother level. I've never felt so connected to myself, to the earth, to the others around me, in this universe of ours. It's like I kind of disappeared into it. And on the last day, Bobby addressed the student body. We were all weeping. As he said, I'm paraphrasing here, he said, "Sing every day for the rest of your life. Because you never know who might hear those notes and be moved somehow in the right direction." This makes me wonder, how can we keep from singing? So when I got home, I set up a monthly circle singing workshop here in my home church. In the first class, 14 brave souls showed up. We sang, we clapped, we stomped, we laughed, we cried. It was transformational. A number of the folks in the class had been told their whole lives they weren't singers. I had adults in their 50s and 60s who hadn't sung since they were in grade school. Yet there they were in the center, standing right there, okay, on our days up here, in our sanctuary, singing their hearts out. And watching these people float out of there at the end of the night, man, it lets me know that's the right thing to do. My friend David Lamont says, when we are moved by music, we are disabused of the illusion of separateness and reminded of our fundamental connections. For many people, this is the clearest evidence of the existence of spirit that we encounter. And this fundamental connectional quality of music to me makes sharing it a holy practice, whether or not it is considered sacred music. How can we keep from singing? I stumbled upon that hymn that I sung earlier in our service for the first time when I was researching this sermon. I couldn't believe I hadn't heard it before. How can I keep from singing, or otherwise known as My Life Flows On in Endless Song, was written by an American Baptist minister, Robert Wadsworth Lowry. He was born in 1826, which is 100 years before my father was born, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The song was first published in 1869 in an 1869 songbook, Bright Jewels, for the Sunday School. Doris Plen learned the original hymn from her grandmother, and she contributed the additional verses about tyrants trembling sick with fear in 1950. And from there, it was taken up by Pete Seeger and the other folk revivalists. Some people think Pete Seeger wrote that song. Well, he just passed it on. When I first heard that song, it completely changed the trajectory of my sermon. My question went from why do we sing to how can we keep from singing? As Unitarian Universalists, how can we keep from singing? If we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all persons, how can we keep from singing? If we believe in justice, equity, and compassion, and a free, responsible search for truth and meaning, how can we keep from singing? When tyrants tremble, sick with fear, and hear their death knells ringing. When friends rejoice both far and near, how can we keep from sinning? If we believe in the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, how can we keep from sinning? In prison cells and dungeons vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can we keep from sinning? If we believe in a goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, how can we keep from sinning? Through all the tumult and the strife, those freedom bells come ringing. Since love is Lord of heaven and earth, how can we keep from sinning? Amen. Thank you. May it be so.
Thank you, Eric Bannan, for your message this morning, How Can I Keep from Singing? While I was listening to you, I thought first with some sadness about how much I miss hearing the voices of our whole community together singing Spirit of Life or Meditation on Breathing all together. But as I thought about singing, I also thought with gratitude for our choir members and all our musicians who we hear through video on Sunday morning and through Wednesday night vespers. I thought with gratitude for the voices that I hear saying the words to light our chalice or to extinguish our chalice in meetings on Zoom. I have to tell you that I want to sing. I feel the need to sing the praises of this church. Sing praises for a fantastic community. Sing praises for the programs that work with our children, our youth, and our adults of all ages. Sing praises for the staff of our church really keeping us together during this time. And to sing praises for you, for each person doing what they can to keep our church strong. If you feel able to give a gift this morning, we invite you to give to this morning's offertory to support the programs and the ministries of this church. You can do that by giving through our giving portal below. An offering for the good work of this church will be both gratefully received and generously given.
All right. Happy Father's Day, everyone. He was born in 1925. It's a miracle he's still alive. With all that he's been through, he's had his fun. I go by to see him once a week. But he can't walk, he can barely speak. Most of our time is spent watching TV. When summer hands it off to fall, his favorite thing to watch is NFL football. And he ain't said a word all day. When the Bears scored a touchdown, you know he smiled and looked my way. Monday'll be here soon now. Here and now I'm glad. For Sunday watching football with my dad. When the halftime comes, he takes a nap. Sunday paper folded in his lap. And I think about everything I put him through. At 15, I up and ran away. All those bitter words I can't unsay. I'm seeing him through different eyes today. I flash back on being 3 feet tall. He's in the backyard teaching me to throw that ball. He ain't said a word all day. When the Packers scored a touchdown, he still smiled and looked my way. Monday will be here soon enough. Here and now I'm glad for Sunday watching football with my dad. There's 12 seconds left. The nurse comes out to wheel him away. And I love you. It's all that I can say. He ain't said a word all day. When the Bears scored another touchdown, he smiled and looked my way. Monday will be here soon enough. Here and now I'm glad for Sunday watching football with my dad. Sunday watching football with my dad.
And now the words for extinguishing the chalice, if you'll join me wherever you are. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And we will be together again.